Many teams have found major success competing in the WRC. However, no manufacturer has seen such a meteoric and rapid rise and fall as Volkswagen did in the 2010s. Going from sparse appearances over the years to complete and utter dominance and then a very effective vanishing act is abnormal to say the least. What happened? A lot of people may think that Volkswagen's start in the WRC was in the 2010s or maybe sometime in the 2000s, but it actually goes back a lot further than that. Volkswagen's first major entry into the sport came in 1978. They would see some limited success with their Golf throughout the following years, and in 1984 they would head up a full campaign in the Group A category, which means that no, Volkswagen was not able to compete directly with the likes of Peugeot and Lancia in Group B. The Group A Golf, however, saw some considerable successes, and actually won the Group A Championship in 1986, but when Group B was abolished in the same year and all major manufacturers switched to Group A, the Golf was suddenly incredibly outmatched, and it slid down the pack, aside from a surprise victory at the 1987 Ivory Coast Rally. Volkswagen would attempt to hit back in 1990 with the Golf Rally G60, a proper supercharged four-wheel drive Golf to challenge the now dominant Toyota and Lancia. Unfortunately, it never achieved much, and at the end of the season Volkswagen stopped development of the G60 and withdrew from the top level of the sport. In the following years, Volkswagen would return to part-time competition in the lower classes, such as competing in the F2 category with the Mark III and Mark IV Golfs in the late 1990s, and they fielded the Polo in the Super 1600 category throughout the 2000s, both to little fanfare overall. However, that want to compete at the top level never went away, and Volkswagen would return in the 2010s. However, they didn't jump straight to the top. Instead, they would race Skoda Fabia S2000s throughout the 2011 season as a testbed for future developments. Skoda was owned by Volkswagen, of course, and they raced in 4 rallies throughout the year. Most importantly, however, was the fact that they were able to sign rising star Sébastien Ogier and co-driver Julian Ingrassia with a multi-year contract, which would definitely pay off in the coming years. 2012 would see Volkswagen continue to race the Fabia S2000s, and they were well into development of their own WRC car by this point. In the years since 1990, the Golf had grown quite a bit, and was now deemed too large to be the basis of a competitive rally car, and so the smaller Polo was chosen as the new vessel instead. The team would race near a full season, and Ogier would even come 5th in the overall standings in Sardinia, the highest position ever placed by an S2000 car in the WRC. With the addition of the signing of Jari-Matti Latvala as a second driver, and the Polo R being fully tested and developed, Volkswagen submitted everything for homologation and prepared for their first season at the top in 23 years. To say that 2013 was an excellent start would be a severe understatement. Despite being the newbies with reigning champions Citroën still at the top of their game, Volkswagen made their presence known immediately, with Ogier winning the first stage of the season at Monte Carlo and going on to finish second overall. Ogier would then take it a step further and would win at the following round in Sweden, with a 40-second lead over reigning world champion Sebastian Loeb. In just 2 events, Volkswagen had gone from literally nothing to race winners, and the power duo would maintain this success, with Ogier going on to win in Mexico, Portugal, Italy, Finland, Australia, France, Spain and the UK, and teammate Latvala would also take a win in Greece. Amazingly, the newcomers claimed 10 of the 13 victories in the 2013 season, and both Ogier and Volkswagen earned dominant victories in their respective championships, which they secured at round 11 in France, a whole 2 races before the end of the season. Sure, part of the reason that Volkswagen was able to do so well was due to 9-time champion Sebastian Loeb only racing a partial season for Citroën this year, but citing that as the sole reason for Volkswagen's success does them a massive injustice. Not only had they proved that their engineering might wasn't limited to just the public roads, but they also found a world-class driver in Ogier to bolster their efforts. But just 1 championship under their belt was not enough. The party had only just begun. 2014 proved to be much the same. The Polo R had been developed further in the downtime between seasons, and the team was now operating beyond what could be described as a well-oiled machine. Ogier was on truly top form, and when he wasn't operating flawlessly, teammate Latvala was there to swoop in and hold on to Volkswagen's dominance. Again, like the previous season, 13 rounds were raced, but this time Volkswagen was able to claim victory in 12 of those rounds. Yes, meaning that they were unsuccessful in just one sole round. Ironically, Volkswagen had the opportunity to claim the title early at their home rally in Germany, but this fairy tale ending to a season was dashed when both drivers crashed out and retired. I mean, come on, nobody's perfect. But with Ogier claiming 8 victories and Latvala 4, it was fair to say that barely anyone remembers this hiccup, as both Volkswagen and Ogier claimed their second titles, with Latvala being handed second. And still, the team showed no signs of slowing down. The 2015 season would see the second iteration of the Polo R WRC, featuring revised gearbox and hydraulics, a larger rear wing, and some serious weight shedding. This second Polo will continue where the first left off, of course, and 2015 will be episode 3 of Volkswagen's dominant streak, going on to win 11 of the 13 rounds that year, Ogier claiming 8 once again, and Latvala 3. Sure, neither driver won in Spain, but Andreas Mikkelsen, driving for the second Volkswagen team, did. The only round in which a Volkswagen didn't appear on the podium, well, hell, on top of it, was in Argentina, where both cars retired due to mechanical issues. They never lost as a result of being off pace or due to driver error. Again, Volkswagen and Ogier would claim their titles simultaneously ahead of time, this time in Australia, 3 rounds before the end of the season. It was beginning to seem a little too good to be true. Sure, the likes of Lancia and Citroën saw similar dominance, but A, not quite to this level, and B, they were far more experienced at the top level than Volkswagen were by the time they won. But Volkswagen was still not done. Out of fear of sounding like a broken record, 2016 was business as usual. While not quite as dominant as previous seasons, with a strong start and finish but a more inconsistent mid-season performance, both Volkswagen and Ogier were able to claim their respective 4th championships. Ogier, with a comfortable 6 wins, was rather uncontested at the top as usual, though Volkswagen did have recent returnees Hyundai snapping at their heels by season's end. Still, while not as dominant as their previous seasons, compared to other title defence seasons in motorsports, it remains a very strong one. And then came 2017, and once again Volkswagen absolutely What? Volkswagen didn't compete in 2017? Are you sure? Yep, after 4 years unchallenged at the top of the leaderboard, Volkswagen abruptly withdrew from the top level of the WRC in late 2016. But let's be clear, it's not like this was some big elaborate plan that was happening in advance. Throughout 2016, Volkswagen had been developing and testing a new Polo to fit the new 2017 WRC regulations, featuring updated bodywork, a lighter curbway and a larger turbo restrictor, known as the Polo GTI WRC. But then came one word that changed everything: Dieselgate. Many of you probably know the story by now, so I'll keep it brief. Essentially, in 2015 it was found that Volkswagen had been cheating on their emissions data by installing software into their diesel engines to circumnavigate tests and provide emissions data that was far lower than the actual reading. Once they were found out by the EPA, Volkswagen shares plummeted, many heads of development and management resigned, including the CEO, and numerous charges were brought against the company and certain individuals. It was eventually found that models dating as far back as 2008 had also been fitted with the software, and so the emissions scandal, also dubbed Dieselgate, ended up costing Volkswagen billions. As a result, the Volkswagen Motorsport division suddenly found itself with a much lower budget, as their money was diverted away to fund crisis management. While they were able to weather the storm somewhat and still come out victorious in the 2016 season, by the end of the year it was clear that they could not continue, and the team withdrew prior to the start of the 2017 season. However, while the Volkswagen factory team withdrew in 2016, the company's presence in the sport didn't completely dry up. In 2018, the team would reappear competing in WRC2. The Polo GTI R5 was essentially a lower class version of the Polo WRC to comply with the R5 rules. While not winning any championship, it has seen 5 event victories in class, and it's become a very popular customer car, and is still raced to this day. Ironically, the most successful car in that class is the Skoda Fabia, bringing a nice circularity back to when Volkswagen used the Fabia S2000 as a test bed for the Polo WRC. Even the Polos themselves managed to see a second life, with some early chassis being converted and used in the World Rallycross Championship in 2018 by ex-WRC champion Petter Solberg. It cannot be overstated just how monumental Volkswagen's time in the WRC was, with the primary team seeing a 77% event victory record and a 100% championship victory record, i.e. over 3/4 of every event they entered, they won, and every single championship that they entered, they also won. Now, sure, some teams throughout motorsports have won a championship in their first season before, or somehow claimed a clean sweep in championship victories, but they were all relatively short-lived or took advantage of some loophole in the rules. Volkswagen came, conquered, and vanished. They proved what they could do, and moved on. Now, sure, the competition was simply not there for a large part of their campaign, and yes, it might not have been such an utter domination if the emissions scandal didn't prematurely end their WRC campaign, but I'm willing to turn a blind eye to all that for the sake of a good story. As for the drivers, Ogier would go on to win a further 4 championships with M Sport and Toyota, but he was never quite as dominant as he was during his time with Volkswagen, and Latvala would move to Toyota and would collect a couple more victories. Who knows, with the WRC rules changing over the coming years and more manufacturers becoming interested in competing again, the lads from Wolfsburg might once again venture out onto the dirt. We can only hope. Thank you so much for watching, with a very special thanks to Brum Brum Bryn and Thomas Bradley, who are very generously donating at the highest tier on my Patreon. Just £1 a month is an amazing help, and I also have socials, links to those are in the description below. Again, thank you for watching, and take care.